I think that's charged today, so I might do better. We're going to talk about writing as we kick off our new unit. So Naomi, what is the big idea of today's lesson?
The big idea of today's lesson is what readers or authors of essays, literary essays, ask themselves, like as they're reading a text to respond to it. That came out really jumbled.
Tell me more.
I made this VA because these are the questions that they ask themselves as they're reading. Like, what is the writer trying to tell us throughout this piece?
And you're reading the mentor text today?
Yes. The
Deadliest animals.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is something that they're going to do today. In terms of the 1 to 2 key understandings they need to walk out of this lesson with, what are those?
Those are that in an opinion piece, an author shares their opinion or what they think about the topic with others, and that the authors explain their opinion by sharing reasons, and they support each reason with facts.
Yes. Great. I think that is the overarching big idea, and then there's this sub-idea about facts versus opinions.
Mm-hmm.
What should students take away about that?
They should take away that facts can be proven true, and opinion is a belief or feeling that you have that cannot be proven true.
Yes. I also think I really appreciate, and I think it'll be important later when we talk about misconceptions. I think it was in your exemplar response, said an opinion can be supported with facts and should be able to be supported with facts, just not proven true.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really key difference between the two because they are going to use facts to support their opinions. Great. So I want to zoom in today and look at the exemplar responses so we know that students have walked out of the room with those 2 key understandings.
I actually have a question about
Yes.
that.
Great.
About number 10, because it's both. And I didn't know if I should highlight that. Because it's saying that because they're small birds, that makes them incredibly cute, but they are small birds.
So that's a fact supporting an opinion.
So the statement is an opinion
Mm-hmm.
with, to LJ's point, a fact supporting it. So I think if you want to circle this, I think it's actually one that we will revisit when we talk about planning for misconceptions. Yes, great. So I want to, we're not done with it, we're coming back to it.
Okay.
Great. I want to specifically look at 14 and 15 because I think they are the strongest assessment of if a student actually is walking out with the key understandings that they need for today. Before even reading this, I know in our informal check-in last week, we talked a little bit about paragraph writing versus written response, short answer response. What would you want to be true of any time a scholar writes a paragraph?
That it is at least 5 to 7 sentences.
Great.
And that they are all complete sentences.
5 to 7 sentences, complete sentences. With the 5 to 7 sentences, what should be captured in those?
I think the paragraph has to have a strong idea. This paragraph is about something, and I could say in a sentence what the paragraph is about, and usually that sentence would be the topic sentence or the claim.
Great. What would come after that?
The ways in which you support that topic sentence, so evidence or facts or anything.
Great. So evidence, and then what do they need to do with the evidence?
Explain it.
Yeah, an analysis.
Great. So I think from this point forward, we should just, every single time a scholar is writing, they're writing a paragraph, and these things have to be true. There has to be an idea for the paragraph that's captured likely in the topic sentence. There has to be evidence from whatever they're referencing, and there has to be an explanation or analysis of that evidence that shows why this evidence supports the idea that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, I want you to go back and look at your exemplars and see, does that meet our exemplar for paragraph writing?
No.
Okay, talk through it.
Well, it's 2 sentences. The first one's 2 sentences. The second one is also 2 sentences, and could also be a bit of a run-on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the 5 to 7 sentences, that's important because we know that the length of their writing was insufficient. in a lot of places on their IA. And let's live in more of the idea, evidence, explanation. Where do you see evidence that you've captured the idea that this paragraph is going to be about?
So right off the bat, I say that that if it's a fact or if it's an opinion,
Yep.
and then I support that with something from the text, but I don't necessarily pull like a full, like I don't have a lot of evidence to expand on, and then in turn I don't fully expand on, like do an analysis on it.
Great. So LJ, what would you add to the first paragraph response, number 14, to add that explanation piece?
I almost feel like that is the explanation, or like, so I would add like evidence that proves it to be that, or evidence that proves that it's a fact, and then like restate that idea that it's proven, that we can prove it, therefore it is a fact.
Yeah, so yes.
Does that make sense? No.
You feel like this is the explanation.
I feel like this is like similar to an explanation. I actually feel like this is like part of the claim almost, because it's like this is a fact because you can prove it with evidence.
Yeah,
But
yes, this is a fact. That's the idea. This is a fact. I do think that the like you can prove this with evidence is getting at the explanation, but it actually is just the evidence, right? From the like live in large communities. That's directly from the sentence. So how would we prove that chimpanzees live in large communities to be true? What might someone do?
they could like take data on like chimpanzees.
Yeah, scientists can observe chimpanzees in their natural habitat to determine if this is true. That's the explanation that's missing right now, and I think will help our students like bridge the missing link between just giving evidence and actually explaining evidence in all of their paragraph writing.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and write that in, and then think about
It's that scientists can,
how could we, why is that information that we could prove to be true?
because scientists can study and prove that
Yeah.
they live in large communities. Okay. So, for this, or for these both of them, would I expect 5 to 7 sentences for them?
So I think the first one could be 3 sentences that still has an idea, evidence from the sentence, and explanation. Because we're not pulling evidence from a large text, like you're only going to be able to pull the one piece of evidence, so you're not going to have 2 sentences kind of thing.
Okay.
But I think the important piece is, if you haven't captured this down, is that there's a clear idea in the topic sentence. In this case, that's a fact or opinion. That there's evidence from the prompt. So they have to include what part of chimpanzees live in large communities and form strong social bonds is a fact. And then explanation that explains how you could prove that to be true, or why you could not prove that to be true, which I think gets a little trickier in number 15. So in number 15, what's the part of this opinion that could be supported with facts, and what's the part that cannot be proven to be true?
That like bat populations are declining, you can prove, but you can't prove that it's important for scientists to research them.
Great. So thinking about that, at the bottom of your lesson plan, redraft what you think the exemplar response would be to this, making sure that there's an idea, evidence, and explanation. This one's tricky.
Yeah, I like don't know how to go beyond this.
Okay, let's come together. So what part of this is an opinion?
That it's important for science to research facts.
That's it, that it's important for science to research. Right now, our claims both say this is an opinion, which isn't fully capturing the idea. So the claim needs to be what?
It is an opinion to, it is an opinion to believe that it's important to research.
Yeah, the assertion, the claim, the idea that researching bats will be important is an opinion. Whatever word you want to use there is fine.
I said that it's an opinion supported by fact.
I think that that's fine.
Okay.
Yep. Then LJ, can you read yours?
Sure. The idea that researching bats is important is an opinion. While I can support this opinion with facts about declining bat populations, I cannot prove that it is important for scientists to research this.
I said this is an opinion supported by fact. I can prove that bat populations are declining by doing research on them. I cannot prove that this makes it important to research them because that is a belief.
Great. What's the difference between yours and Naomi's?
It's like broken up into like two parts.
Yeah, and the explanation is just like, I can do research, that's how I can prove it to be true, versus I cannot prove this to be true because it's my belief. That's where the explanation versus like more just the repetition of the idea is fleshed out. So in thinking about that and thinking about what the entire lesson is about, what do we think is going to be trickiest for scholars today?
That analysis part.
So there's a procedural piece in paragraph writing about like explaining or analyzing their evidence. Great. What else? What conceptual misunderstanding might they have?
Like a black and white thinking of like this, like a sentence can only be a fact or an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, both.
Yeah. Or I think there's another piece. Or did you have a different idea?
No, it was that essentially that like I think they'll struggle with the fact that you can have an opinion that is supported by fact, but it's not. It doesn't mean that like the whole thing is true. Because
Yes.
You can't prove the whole thing.
Yeah, I think kids are going to have a really hard time with like, but it's supported by evidence, so it must be true, versus this is a fact that can be proven to be true. So in thinking about those two things, what can we adjust in our facilitation questioning to support kids proactively with closing both of those gaps?
Well, originally I was going to put those two things that I mentioned before on like the VS under that one, like add them as I go.
Yeah.
But I think it should be those three things, that there's a clear idea in the topic sentence and that there's evidence from the text and that the analysis is how we can prove it to be true.
Yeah, that's probably an anchor chart that we need for all paragraph writing.
And then I think like being consistent in our language about facts and opinions, like I know this is a fact because I can research it and prove that it's true, versus I know this is an opinion, I can support it with facts, but I don't know, but
Yeah.
like saying the same thing every time.
I agree with you, and I'm wondering if it makes sense to say like this is a strong opinion because it can be supported with facts, because I think we'll get to a place in their writing where like that's a weak opinion because it can't be supported with facts. Yeah, but I completely agree. I think we need to be really consistent in our language about this could be proven to be true, so it is a fact, or this can be supported with evidence, so it is an opinion, and those two things can look really similar but are different. So in terms of making like a standing VA for this is what paragraph writing includes, can you actually make that now? And I want you to go into your lesson plan and look for what are the moments where you can stamp that key difference between facts and opinions / similarities.
Okay.
We could actually work on this.
There you go, in the thumbnail.
to help us go through like what are the key things that are in opinion writing,
Yeah.
right? The second mentor text is also there. Yeah, the second, I stapled this backwards, so that's annoying. Well, let's start back here. So, in the first mentor text, what about this language? Opinion authors explain their opinion by sharing reasons. They support each reason with true facts. Might be tricky if we're trying to help students understand, like, this is what's true of paragraph writing.
I think they can be confused with like the language of an opinion. Because I think if like it says like this is important, I think that that's a fact, it's important.
Right, because they don't understand that just because it's supported.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this piece of like explain,
Okay.
we should adjust that language because that's the language that we use in paragraph writing when we're talking about explaining your evidence to prove your idea is true. So instead it should be opinion authors do what?
Support their opinion.
Support their opinion with reasons, great. And then they support each reason with true facts.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So that's going to help eliminate some confusion there.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we get into the second mentor text,
It starts right here.
yeah, so they're using, when they start to do fact versus opinion, they're working here, right? What would you want them to add to this statement?
But it can be supported by facts.
Or should be?
Yeah.
So I think during your discussion, that's something you should have them put in. And then I love that you added in partner work. I thought that was great. I think you need to pause them and debrief this activity at specific points. What are the points that you feel like you should debrief the activity?
I mean, my biggest pausing point was this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think you're gonna go through and collect data. You're gonna specifically look for like how are we doing on number 10? No matter what, you're gonna debrief number 10 because they need to be able to explain why this is an opinion and not a fact.
Yeah.
And then I would only review whole group and the other one that the data is like really wonky.
Okay.
Otherwise, this is the one that you want to stamp because this is the one that is the most gray.
Yeah. So would I have them do 1 through 13, and then whole group go over them quickly and stop at number 10, or would I pause before?
So I think that the way you had it set up in your lesson plan felt strong to me.
Okay.
Let me just go back. In terms of they're gonna start independently and then work with a partner. When they're doing independent work, that's gonna be a really important moment for you to collect data and then make an informed choice.
Okay.
So it should be like, if they're getting them, great, start working with a partner, make sure you're able to explain why it is a factor in opinion.
Okay.
Continue to collect data. You could have them go through 13 and then pause and go back to 10 before they go into their 14 and 15.
Okay.
Yeah, unless the data is telling you something else. I
Yeah.
don't think it will, but I think it, you want to be able to pause.
Okay.
So then with number 10, this is also an opportunity for you to set up the paragraph writing that needs to be true. So this is a moment in terms of guided practice where you could work as a group to script out like what is the written response if you were doing this on number 10.
For like if this was this one, let me read the question.
I think that because this is a part of guided practice,
Yeah.
what is going to help close the misconception around what needs to be true of paragraph writing, you could work as a class to write a written response
Gotcha.
explaining number 10.
Okay.
So, like down here, craft out what would be the paragraph response you would expect for number 10.
Okay. And would that happen before they do this? Okay. Is that okay? Is that too much? Okay, it's done.
Exactly. Great.
I don't feel like at first when I was like, no, I think it's more of a belief than I'm feeling.
Great. So this is a moment where you could say, like, discuss if it's a fact or an opinion, discuss why, and then say, so if I was going to write a response explaining why this is a fact or an opinion, I first need to capture my idea. We said that this is an opinion, and then write that down on the whiteboard, wherever. Then saying, like, why did we say this was an opinion and not a fact? Because this part is a belief that is supported by facts. The fact is that they're small and we can do research to prove that, but overall I can't because this is a belief. And then you draft this.
Okay.
That's when LJ. When you're done with that, could you make one more poster that just says like paragraph writing, idea, evidence, explanation?
Sure.
Cool. So I want you to practice this moment where you've gone through here and then you go back to number 10 to discuss. So what would be your opening question for whole group discourse around number 10?
Why is this an opinion?
So we're going to go, if most people write opinion,
Okay.
that's what you should say. If some opinion, some fact, what would your opening question be?
Well, I think I would have like a class vote between two friends and then like have the friend who thinks it's an opinion explain why and have the friend who thinks it's a fact explain why
Yeah.
and see if answers change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would just really hope that they would get opinions. But if not, then like go back to this piece here of like can I as I guess procedural. Like, is it a fact? Like, can I prove this? How can I prove this? And then, yeah, you can prove some of it.
This isn't procedural. This is a conceptual understanding.
Okay.
So I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, open it up for discourse. You're looking for someone to say this, right?
Yeah.
This is an opinion because opinions can be supported by facts, and this part is a fact, but overall it is an opinion because it is a belief that they are incredibly cute.
Yeah.
If they don't get there, I think your prompt is exactly right. Everyone go back to the top and reread what makes a fact and what makes an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then have them vote again.
Yeah.
Great, so that's the moment that I want you to stand up and practice.
Okay.
And we're questions timing.
Yeah, Mr. Cruz never got to see us like really live.
Oh, no, you have to be there at 40. Okay, you have 2 minutes.
Great. So should it be that I start with them as if like they didn't get it?
Right, as if it's some facts and some opinions.
Great. And so like now how do we go back to this plot piece?
So first we're gonna open it up to discourse, and I'll play all the roles.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Someone with the tall, straight hands, how many? Or I would even just pick students because everybody's gone around. So great. Emily, stand up and share why you think it's an opinion or why you think it's a fact with the class.
I think it's a fact because we could do research and like just look at hummingbirds and know that they're really small.
Great. Emily, share your idea why you think it's an opinion.
It says incredibly, and incredibly is just a word that makes me feel like it's an opinion.
Awesome. So let's take 10 seconds to think. Do we agree with Emily 1 that it's a fact or Emily 2 that it's an opinion? Shake, shake, show. Great. So most of the classes say it is half and half. Let's go back to
If someone does go like this, which I think you would get, that probably means that they have the conceptual understanding, like this part is a fact and this part is an opinion.
Yeah.
So if you see that, that's a facilitator moment to be like, you're in between, why do you think that?
Okay. You're in between. Why do you think that?
I agree with Emily too, that incredibly cute is definitely an opinion. And so I think the whole thing's an opinion because Emily 1 did say like they're really small and that's a fact. But we know that we can support our opinions with facts. And so this is probably an opinion supported by a fact.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If we go back to the top, we see that an opinion is a feeling or belief about something that can be
Great,
proven
pause.
true.
I want you to say that like really convincingly.
Okay.
You know, you don't need to look
Okay,
at the
great.
paper. So
Great.
key point, you're stamping it.
We know that an opinion is a feeling or belief that can be proven true, and it should be proven true by facts.
Proven true? An opinion?
Be supported.
Great, you do it again.
We know that an opinion should be supported by facts. No.
An opinion is
An opinion is a belief or feeling that should be supported by facts.
nice. So this
This is an opinion because it says that they're incredibly cute, but it's supported by a fact that they're very small.
great. Peace. I'll make that poster while you guys do the transition.
Cool.
I'm gonna send a child to pass out the judging papers, just so you know.